This is Weights and Wealth, your one-stop shop for entertaining education on building a stronger body and bank account.
We are not doctors or financial advisors and must warn you this is not medical or investing advice. It is for your entertainment.
Welcome back to Weights and Wealth, the number one podcast for faith, finances, fitness, family, and freedom. I think I got the 5 F's there. All right, the shout out for this
flatulence.
episode. What?
I said, and flatulence.
The shout out for this episode is Nick for making the trip up to DC. Some people said it couldn't be done. The wives
proved them wrong, though.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a doubter too. Yeah. There's been a lot of times that phantom promises have been made, and then something happens. I was expecting the AI to escape and be rampaging across Charleston, but he made it.
Yeah, this is probably our first time together in 6 months. At least.
Yeah, I think since last summer. Yeah. A couple of us have the sniffles, but we're going to carry on and get about 10 episodes recorded here this weekend. So, yeah.
A lot.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. All right, so you got the weights wisdom, right, Nick?
Yes. If you've been wanting to make progress, but you haven't been, go find a good trainer because they can help you make progress. Right, Ted?
Yep. That's true.
Ted's lip help, everybody. That's a plug, shameless plug for his side business. His side business. As far as an intro article, we've got the, just a CNBC report talking about the 15% drop. So the horrible joke that Ted came up with is if your 401k is now a 341k, why not just do 400k?
Because 15% of 401 is 341.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a 15% drop. Don't panic. Also, don't expend all your capital trying to quote unquote buy the dip, because I know that's good advice to buy the dip, but you never know where the bottom is. So don't if you, let's say you had $1,000 that you were I'm going to invest this in the next big dip. Don't put all $1,000 in. Maybe if there's a big dip, just put $250, and then if it keeps dropping the next day, $250. And
Yep.
do that DCA strategy.
Nick, what is that called?
Dollar cost averaging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good just to stay par for the course. Don't really change it's too hard to time the market. Just kind of pick your investing strategy and keep doing it rather than, changing it based on the market. Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing $25 a day in my Roth. So it's it doesn't matter what it's going to. And then occasionally I do I think it's $100 a month, or $100 every 2 weeks in a brokerage. And then that is when I pick particular stocks that have underperformed. It's one way to do it.
Yeah. For my Roth, I just have it set up so that I think it's once a week. It just pulls I just took the whatever it is, 7,000 or 7,500 and just divided it by,
52.
26 or 52. And
That's a good strategy. So the way that this whole episode is going to work is we're talking about coaches and trainers, like Nick said about, and the weights wisdom of the week. So at what point is it actually worth seeking advice, right? Because if you're a guy with who has a basic understanding of finance and knows that it's pretty hard to beat the S&P 500, so why should I take any investment advice or financial advice if you know the basics of personal finance? And then especially in the fitness world too, it's if you're you're in the 1,000-pound club and you can run under a 7-minute mile, why do I need a coach? So that's what this episode is about, is at what point should you seek out advice, and when how to identify a sticking point and a point where you've kind of plateaued, and getting a coach could actually help you break through and hit new higher levels.
Yeah, when is it valuable to get a financial advisor or a coach? And then when is it more of a waste for you personally to get a financial advisor or a personal trainer or coach?
Yeah. So Nick, if you want to bring us into the wealth section here, you've got it built out pretty much. I had a little bit, but there's not a ton.
Yeah, no, just like finding a good personal trainer, finding a good financial advisor was really hard because there are a lot of bad ones out there. I think like Northwestern Mutual is the place where you'll get your cousin that you got to talk to in 10 years.
I did do an internship there, and it was tough. I mean, there are good people there. There are very good people there. But at the same time, I think that the strategies that they offer are not applicable to like 95% of people.
Okay.
And I didn't know
what were the strategies that they were.
It's just like basic, like I was only licensed to do like the risk management portion, so like all the insurance stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was, a junior in college at the time, and so I took the exam. I got certified, and like it was pretty easy. But it is important to have like, especially in the civilian world, like disability insurance, unemployment insurance. Like that stuff is like $10 a month, and if you break your back and your workman's comp only covers 60%, they cover the other half. Like it is wise to have that stuff. But like I would say whole life insurance is probably not a strategy worth pursuing unless you are like in the 0.5% where it's like you're making so much money you don't know what to do with it, and you're trying to find ways to get like tax advantages. So I didn't really get to see the wealth management side, which a lot of them do, and a lot of them are very good at. So I can't speak for that, but yes, I've been on the receiving end of Northwestern Mutual solicitations now. And yeah, it can be annoying, but like when I get out, I'm probably going to get like insurance of some type, and we'll see.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I mean, like a lot of financial advisors are salesmen at the end of the day. Some of them don't even really come, like they didn't major in finance. They were just like general business studies.
Or like history.
Right. Yeah.
Like they have zero background.
And it's the only place they could get a job after school, which is why it's important. Why it's important to find a good one, and then also find one that doesn't work off commissions. I know, like I'm sure they did. Like they get a commission for selling you some insurance product that you might not need, and I know Whole Life has one of the highest rates.
Oh yeah,
they make a ton off of selling like a whole life policy. Because you don't really make any money off of them. They're very expensive, and you aren't net positive until like 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
So try to find a financial advisor that's either a flat rate or a percentage of assets and doesn't make a commission off of selling you products.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
I think that's a good like baseline to start with. And from what I've understood is like financial advisors versus financial planners. Can you talk about the difference between those guys?
Yeah, I mean, they really should be the same thing, which, I mean, I guess they're not. Like the way that I think more about financial planning is more like estate planning, which estate planners are definitely worth it. Like if you're getting up there in age and you have a lot of assets, it's definitely worth finding an estate planner. Because they can help get your stuff into trusts and, do a whole workaround and save you a bunch of money in taxes when you pass.
Yeah.
So they're absolutely worth it. But like a good financial advisor / planner will, they'll get your like 20, 30 year plan and help you do that. Yeah. One thing you definitely shouldn't be looking for in a financial advisor is someone that's going to beat the market, because they won't. Like the goal of a financial advisor is to help you make a plan to manage risk and to make sure that you're on track to meet your goals.
Yeah, it's like someone just to hold you accountable so that you're not, just pulling out money when you shouldn't. Like the people who talk about like liquidating assets to buy. I don't know, like a new trailer or something, or like a new truck. Like, yeah, just they're like someone that you like a sounding board where you can be like, hey, I want to do this, and they're like, that's a bad idea, don't do that.
I was at the gas station.
Like if you don't really have those people in your circle, it might be a good idea to have a financial advisor that you can just like call and be like, hey, does this make sense?
I was at the gas station on Post the other day, and with the stock market dropping, the guy at the pump next to me was on the phone, and he was saying, yeah, my TSP has dropped like 9% in the past couple days. I'm thinking about pulling out. And I was like, the TSP for us in the military is basically our 401k.
Yeah.
And I was just listening. I was like, oh my God, this is a terrible idea.
Honestly, I would have jumped in and been like, do not do that, please.
Yeah. Which I've had a lot of clients do that unknowingly who obviously don't have much financial acumen, because you get hit with a 10% penalty if you pull out retirement before you're of age. So that's like automatic. Plus, if it's a traditional, you get tax on top of all that, and it's at your highest rate too.
Yeah, you were saying you were doing taxes for a lady that did that. You want to run through that?
Sure. Yeah. So this client pulled out about $500,000 from her retirement. On top of that, she made like $200,000 at her job, so $700,000 of taxable income. She's getting taxed at 37% on some dollars, plus state tax, plus the 10% penalty. It's over 50% at that point.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it's definitely not wise to pull out that early.
What was she like? I mean, without obviously like divulging any PII, why was she pulling out that much money?
Because she was worried about the stock market drop, and just like she thought we were in a big bubble, which this was also in 2024. So I guess this was before like it really turned down, but she bought a rental with it. You can keep a rental in an IRA. It's a little tricky because you have to fund it with all IRA funds. So like if you don't have any cash in it and you need to do a repair, you can't without over contributing for the year, which you can't do.
If you're trying to do something like that, it would make sense to have a financial advisor or financial planner.
It would, yeah, because they probably would have advised her not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like, so when you say you need cash in the IRA to like fund like a real estate purchase, right? Is that, and like when you're contributing to your IRA, is liquid cash in an IRA counted if it's not invested? So like, let's say I put just 7,000 liquid into an IRA. Is that maxed out? Or is it only considered maxed out when I make a purchase of a security?
Oh, so if you put money into the IRA,
and it's just sitting there
counts
liquid.
as being maxed
that does
out.
count? Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it's not.
It's like the memes or the TikToks of girls that are putting money into their IRA, but they're not investing it. They're not making any money.
It's just
they're like,
cash sitting.
It's been 6 years and I just found out that it's not making any money. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. Or the savings account with 0.5% interest.
Yeah. But something I've been playing around with is partnering with my IRA to buy something. It would be a little tricky, but then, I wouldn't be limited to just my IRA funds to buy a property.
Interesting.
What are some other reasons that someone might think, oh, I should have a financial advisor instead of, oh, all I have is some stocks. Like I'm okay. I don't need a financial advisor. What are some areas where if someone has a certain type of asset, maybe it might make sense for them?
Generally speaking, the more money you have, the more sense it makes to buy a financial advisor because it gets exponentially cheaper generally as you have more money. Especially if there's a flat rate, it's just a flat fee. So if you have 20,000 of assets and it's $1,000 for the year, it probably doesn't make sense. I would say like your average younger person, it probably makes more sense just to learn about finances yourself, and just invest then. And then as you make more money and start getting older, it'll probably make more sense to get a financial advisor, or someone who just knows that they have no idea about finances. Then it would probably make sense too.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's people that like for me, for example, knots for some reason just do not click for me. Like I can remember one knot from Ranger School and that's it. But like all other knots, like other than a square knot or like how you tie your shoes, like I just cannot remember them to save my life. So there's just, and I'm sure this affects other people, but sometimes there's just like knowledge that maybe you'll be able to learn at one time and like execute it correctly, which happened to me with knots. But as soon as it's done, it's like your brain just dumps it, and like you cannot retain information.
Sounds a lot like you and me with our ceremonies that we do.
Yeah. So like there's some things that like just don't click, and if like finance is for you, like just don't click, and like however much you try, you just can't remember. You just can't make it make sense, it might be worth it to get a financial advisor, because not everything comes naturally to people, and not everything, like I enjoy managing my money and like my family's strategy and stuff, but a lot of people that hate it, and they get freaked out when there's, they're doing their taxes or, stuff like that. So.
Or just having someone to like hold your hand through the whole thing. Like if you can make a plan, but you just can't stick to it very well, kind of like a trainer, like they hold you accountable.
Yeah.
That's another great time to get a financial advisor.
Yeah. And it's never too late. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm already 40, might not be worth it by now. But I feel like if you're in a bad position now, and, you're trying to find a way to get ahead, it might be worth at least talking to a guy, So that kind of covers the financial advisor section, or financial planner. And I think in this Forbes article, it said like people who have a financial planner, stuff like that. Obviously, people who are like in the bracket that need it, they save roughly an average of 3% a year. So if that 3% is going to make a big difference for you, and it's not just $3,000, I could see that being worth it.
Yeah.
But like with fitness and stuff, obviously it's you're not going to get like a massive financial ROI on, your fitness trainer. So Ted, if you could tell us, like, for someone who's like decently in shape or like takes good care of themselves, like why should they get a coach? Why should they get a trainer?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you have to look at, if you're already in good shape, like Sean was saying, is like, do you have a specific goal? Because if you're someone that just wants to be healthy and in good shape, but you don't really have any goals or aspirations for anything, then you can just keep doing what you've been doing and chug along. And if you're not having any issues, then yeah, you don't need a coach or a trainer. Like fitness can be super complicated, but at the basic level, it is sets and reps, So if you're already doing a good job, then you probably don't need a coach. But where having a coach starts to make sense is like if you're trying to compete in something and you want to excel, well, then having a coach that knows the different intricacies, whether you're playing a sport and you have aspirations to play like D1 or professional, then it would definitely behoove of you to get a coach to help you get that extra 5%. Or even if you're not trying to do something professional, but you're trying to do like an amateur bodybuilding or powerlifting competition, if that's something that's important to you and it's a hobby that you really enjoy, then getting a coach that's going to help you get that extra 5-10% in some cases is going to be really valuable to you if it's something you enjoy and it's something that you're okay spending some of your expendable income on. But then a lot of people in America, the vast majority, are not doing okay. They might think they are, but if you just look at the normal population, compare yourself to the normal population in America is going to be sick, tired, and unhealthy. So if you're someone that's not already in really good shape, there's probably a reason why. And in that case, getting a good coach or trainer can be really valuable to you.
Yeah, they can help diagnose like what is going on with you, because a lot of times like people will just be like, I don't know why I'm so tired, or I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And, they don't have the time or the bandwidth to, be like, okay, well, maybe it's because blah, blah, blah. And like that trainer can help, kind of like a psychologist or just like a good friend, second pair of eyes on your problem can, see past the splinter in your eye and, help you diagnose what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Coaches wear a lot of different hats. We're helping people with their diet. We're helping people with their exercise. We're playing a mini psychologist kind of role as people talk to you and you help them through things that are going on in their lives. A lot of good coaches will have more of a holistic approach where they're diving into your sleep and your activity and like different aspects of your job and your environment at home and at your job. So trainers are really supposed to be like the first line of defense for the healthcare system. And in the book club book coming up, Good Energy by Casey Means, one of the things that I read that I didn't know in that book was that the number one cause of doctors, like primary care doctor visits in America, is people feeling like fatigued and tired. And so if more people had good personal trainers or coaches, we could prevent a lot of that just by implementing some basic behaviors that will help with a lot of like metabolic issues. So if you're not feeling like you're just performing well on a daily basis, hiring a good coach that takes a holistic approach can be extremely beneficial just to your quality of life. I'll go through a couple different scenarios. I made up some different coaches' names here for like good coaches versus bad coaches. Because just like Sean and Nick were talking about with financial advisors, there's some good ones, but there's also a lot of bad advisors and coaches out there. So,
and to Ted's point about coaches kind of being like the first line of defense for the healthcare system, I know some health insurances are starting to pay for gym memberships. So check it out and see if yours does, because you'll save in taxes for that.
All right, so first scenario, you got Joe Schmo. He built a good physique, and he gives you the same templated program that he hands out to every client. This is very common with online trainers that are selling hundreds or thousands of programs. They just hand out the same program to everyone, and then they just leave you to go do the program. This many sets, this many reps, these exercises. With online trainers, most of the time, you can bet that this is the case with what's happening. There are some online trainers that will check in with you weekly and customize your program, but the norm is just someone that has a good physique that's just grabbing money, selling the same program to everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of like the financial advisors that are just salesmen. Like they look good.
Exactly.
So people think that they can write a good program.
Yeah, just that one interaction is going to fix everything.
Magic
paper.
For getting coaching, just getting handed that one thing that during that one interaction, that's not coaching. All right, next one for something to look out for like a bad trainer is Trainer Tim gives you a meal plan that includes meals such as 3 almonds and 5/8 of an apple for a snack, and 0.35 pounds of chicken, a quarter cup of rice, 2.5 pieces of asparagus, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of peanut butter for dinner. This is pretty common. It used to be more common in gyms, not as much anymore. I feel like a lot of trainers have gotten away from this kind of meal plan for their clients because it doesn't do anything really to help the client long term. It doesn't teach them anything about how to eat, and it makes it extremely difficult for someone to actually stick to that diet or meal plan. But this is like just cramming a square peg of foods into a round hole of macros, and it doesn't really make sense for any kind of a meal. A lot of times it's like really strange measurements and stuff that would be really hard for you to prepare.
Sounds like a horrible meal too.
Yeah.
I don't think I like almonds with my rice, or like peanut butter with my chicken. It's a little weird.
Yeah, but like this is what, especially I would say like early 2000s meal plans looked like a lot of the time. And then also when people just go to Chat GPT and say, give me a diet that fits these macros, sometimes you get stuff like this as well. So that's where the value of like a good coach that can actually help you learn about how to eat better provides way more than just going on Chat GPT and asking for a meal plan. All right, another one is Trainer Jim. Trainer Jim makes a program for his clients and doesn't adjust it through the life cycle of his client as different issues, aches and pains, or plateaus arise. He just gives them a program and then shows up in the gym with them and counts their sets and reps. This is why a lot of people think that personal trainers aren't valuable. They have that image of the trainer in the gym that just is counting sets and reps. I think a lot of times the better trainers really don't do a good job of counting your sets and reps. They're like trying to help you and cue you. A lot of times with cues, you want those cues to be during the setup of the lift, but sometimes they'll tweak things throughout your set. And so like a lot of good trainers aren't going to be keeping good count of sets and reps. At least a lot of the good trainers that I know, they'll be like, 3 more. And then the client will be like, I'm already at 12. Well, wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on your form or whatever. All right, now we'll get into where valuable coaches come to play, what that can look like. So Trainer Chad does continuing education and holds clients for long periods of time. His clients stay with him because he gives them really good results and they do better when they're with him. So one of the things that I think Nick mentioned earlier is like that accountability that having a financial advisor can have. And that's why Sean mentioned the Forbes article with 3% better savings and returns. A lot of people just need that accountability of a trainer. So if you're someone that struggles to consistently go to the gym, for consistency, I'm not talking about like, 2 weeks in a row you went every day. For consistency, I mean like, are you making it to the gym 4 times a week for 3 months in a row? That's what we mean by consistency. That's where you'll actually start to make meaningful change. And then with the client retention thing, you can ask trainers like, how long have your clients been with you? If they've had clients with them for 2, 3, 4 years, and not just 12 weeks, and then they have to re-sign a new client, that's where you start to see, okay, this is a better trainer. Even after his or her clients have made a lot of progress, they stay with him because they love the workouts. They love the ease of mind of just showing up to the gym and being able to execute those good workouts. And he's constantly helping them with issues that come up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then, you're talking about like other people, within this, fantastical world of fake trainers. And I like how you kind of described yourself with Trainer Chad. And then you got your wife's name in there.
Yeah, so the next one is Trainer Alex. Trainer Alex competed or competes in the same type of thing that their client is competing in, and has experiences that they can draw on to help their clients through the struggles of a goal or sport. So for a lot of good trainers, what
if you want me to take over, I can help talk. It sounds like you're struggling a little bit on the voice front.
Throat is going.
But so essentially, I think what Ted is trying to argue here, while we let him recover from his throat ailment, is that someone who has experience in like whatever you are trying to achieve, particularly when they're like an echelon or 2 above you, can be super helpful, because they've already gone through the progression and hit the same plateaus that you are likely to hit. And so they have that, we'll use the Marxist term, but lived experience that will enable them to be more in tune with what you need. So if you're trying to be a triathlon athlete, it might be good to, have some exposure to like a power lifter or stuff like that. But it's not going to be as valuable to you as someone who does endurance sports, on their own time, because that's what they love to do. So, I think the point here is to try and find a trainer whose passion aligns with yours.
Yeah. And this doesn't mean that like a middle-aged female client can't get good results with like a young male trainer. They don't have to be the same exact avatar as you. But the best gym with the best team of trainers that I worked at was in Milwaukee when Nick and I lived in Milwaukee. And we had a bunch of different types of trainers. So we had this one trainer, and she worked a lot with like elderly clients, and she was also a massage therapist, and she would help elderly clients move better and gain a lot of mobility and strength. And then we had this one girl that was a former bodybuilder, professional, like she had her pro card. And so she worked really well with like a lot of women that were trying to fix their metabolism and learn how to reverse diet. We had another guy that was an assistant coach for a collegiate track and field team. So he would work with like a lot of athletes. And then like I was working with just a lot of Gen Pop, but like say someone came into the gym and I was giving them like a free session to try to sell. Well, I would hand them off if they were like a high school athlete to the guy that was the track and field coach, because he's just going to be a better coach for them. And we had just a really good environment there where us trainers were passing different clients off to the person that would be best for that client. So also look for that in a gym, because that's a really good sign that the trainers aren't just trying to sell you so that they can make money. They're really trying to help you.
Yeah. 100%.
All right. The next one is Trainer Clark personalizes custom programs to each client and adjusts his client's programs as needed. So if whether it's online or in a gym, before you sign up, you should ask that coach or trainer, like, how often do you adjust a program? So like for me, with how I customize my programs, like I actually give all my clients the weights that they'll be using for the following week. And that way they're not just using the same weight at whatever sets and reps are prescribed. But if you're, like we talked about earlier, if you're just handed a template and then you don't see the person again, or you don't check in with them on a weekly basis, that's not going to be very good. And one of the things about this with like weekly check-ins and stuff like that and making changes as needed is like if you have something going on in your life and you can't make it to the gym for a week, whether you get sick or like one of my clients is Army guy, so he's in the field for periods of time, we have to constantly kind of adjust his program as things come up. Then basically what it comes down to is a coach that makes a custom program for you, communicates often, and adapts the program based off your needs and your issues and stuff like that. And based off your performance is going to be a much more valuable coach. So you can ask your coach questions or your prospective coach or trainer. If you're going to sign up with someone, like you have the right to ask them questions and ask for some referrals, some other clients. Because if they are able to give you a client to have to talk to, you can start to ask them these questions. How does your trainer do with this thing or this thing? And then you can get a much better idea of if they're probably a good coach or a bad coach.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that goes across the board. Like whenever you're going to hire someone, always, look to their client pool and see if you can talk to them, because oftentimes you'll get, the best feedback from people that are already working with this individual that you're looking to hire, whether that's a handyman, a plumber, a financial advisor, or a fitness trainer. Always try and talk to the client base, and you'll inevitably get better references and get a more holistic understanding of who you're actually working with than just talking directly to the guy.
Yep. All right. If you are a football and fantasy football enthusiast, you'll love next week's episode where we talk about, Nick and I are most likely next week sitting down with Casey, who has a Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast. So for all of our fantasy football enthusiasts, right before the NFL draft, we're going to do that. And then after that, we'll be back to the rest of the episodes we're going to record this weekend. So
thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us today at Weights and Wealth. And don't forget to apply today's lessons to live healthy and wealthy.
If this conversation will contribute to your fitness and financial gains, please share it with a friend or family member and give a 5-star review so more people can lift bigger weights and get bigger bank accounts.